everybody. Welcome to Life Stories. Usually, I'm not behind a camera, I'm just behind a microphone, but I'm doing something new today. I hope it's the first of many. I have my first video call with somebody on my podcast. The first time I tried it, it didn't work, and that was not her fault, it was mine. So I'm excited to do this today. My first guest is a friend that I've made. Her name is Michelle Perzan. I met her at a conference a couple of weeks ago. She's an incredible story, and I'm excited to share her story here. You know, when I started this podcast, my desire was to share other people's stories. I don't want it to be about me. I mean, I have stories to share, but I don't want it to be all about me. Everybody has a story to share, and that is what I wanted to do on this podcast. I wanted to create an environment where people felt comfortable telling their stories, whether they were exciting and, had some kind of cool career, or maybe it's a health journey like what we're going to talk about today, or who knows what it is. Everybody has a story to share. And so that is what I'm hoping to do in this place. So I hope that today you'll enjoy our conversation and that you will come back and listen for more. Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Shara.
Thank you for being on my podcast today.
I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. I really am.
I appreciate it. So we met at the Behind Her Brand conference a couple of weeks ago, and you shared part of your story, your journey with cancer when you were at that conference. And then when I came home, I kind of looked up all the women that I met online and saw their ministries and their jobs and all their things. And I watched your YouTube video where you were very vulnerable. It was a very powerful video, where you talked about your story with cancer. And I have a few questions, but I want to let you start sharing your story, and I'll ask them as we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So really my life changed. It was February 27th, 2014. And I remember I was sitting at home in my office. I work from home, and I got a phone call, and they were like, "Is this Michelle Perzan?" And I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "We just got your results back. You have cancer." And I remember just pausing and sitting there thinking, you just called me on the phone and
Right.
told me that, right? You didn't ask if I was alone. Am I sitting down? What am I doing? Because I'm originally from Canada, and in Canada, you don't get calls like that, right? They come into the office, we'll see you in 2 weeks, and you have to wait, right? What's going
Right.
on? What are the results? So in one part, I was like very thankful to know, but the other part, I was like, it can be a very traumatic thing just hearing over the phone and being by yourself.
Yeah.
And I chose to not let that traumatic event become a trauma in my life. I really did.
Yeah.
And I decided to not let that diagnosis of cancer be my identity either.
Yeah.
And that's really important. Things are going to happen to us, and things will go through, and we get to make that choice, right? And I
Right.
chose very early on to lean on my faith, to lean on the Lord, and not let cancer define me, but that my faith, that people would see my faith through the whole journey that I went through, that people would look at me and not see cancer, but they'd say, where do you get that joy? Where do you get that strength? I wanted them to see that through everything. So I
Right.
decided very early on, after many days and weeks of crying and just crying out to Lord and crying literal tears, what am I to do? How do I get through this? Until I just finally surrendered and said, okay, God, I trust you. Have it all. I trust you. And that's when everything changed, when I just gave it all to the Lord.
Yeah. So what was it, a mammogram that you had the first test? Like when they called you for the results, is that what test you're waiting the results for?
So interesting. So we had lived in Rio Grande Valley. We had moved from
Uh-huh.
Canada to the Rio Grande Valley, and I kept asking to have a mammogram,
Uh-huh.
some kind of testing, because there was a lot of cancer in my family. And
Okay.
I was only 40 when I started asking, and they kept saying, you're not old enough, you don't need one. But when you have that feeling in your gut, you just
Right.
feel like something's maybe not right, or you just want to check and make sure.
Right.
God created us perfectly. And when we have that feeling that follow through and push through and be your best advocate, be your own
Yeah.
advocate. I didn't push enough. Finally, I think it was a year and a half later, I was like, please just do it. And I think the doctor was like, okay, if it'll make you be quiet.
I'm surprised because that's not the story I normally hear. Usually, like I was 44 when I had my first mammogram, and I like kind of was felt guilty because I waited so long. So I'm surprised that they wouldn't let you do that so early.
Oh, and they might have changed things. That was back in my
Yeah.
first mammogram. I want to say it was in 2000. she 12, maybe 12 or
Okay.
13. So I just kept asking and asking. And
Yeah.
when it came back, it was normal. It showed calcifications, things like that. They ended up doing a biopsy and everything came back good. And then my
Right.
husband got an onshore job and then we were moving to Katy by Houston. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, by the way, when you go there, when you relocate, go and self-refer to MD Anderson or someplace like that and just have them look at your hormone levels. And I was like, right there, I was like,
Right.
you said everything's good. Why would I go and ask them?
Yeah.
But that's the Lord, right? Opening up doors for my husband to be able to come work on shore, for him to be moved to Katy, for us to be near a big city where we'd have so many options.
Yeah.
But that was so when I went to MD Anderson, I set up an appointment and they're like, we don't do that. Why are you here? Like literally, we're like, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, why are you here? And I remember just sitting there praying with the lady that was in that room and just, Lord, please. And there's something about her. And I wrote about her in my first book, Strength in My Storm. I wrote about that nurse. She was a doctor. I think she was a PA. And she said, we don't normally do this, but I feel like I'm supposed to. And she reran everything. And
Wow.
because she did that, they found it.
Wow. That is wild. One of the things that you talked about in your video was that your mom was also going through some stuff and you weren't able to tell her what you were dealing with. And I know that was hard. I know that was hard.
So just
So
to
what
touch
it,
on my mom, just so that you know, like I had already lost my oldest brother to cancer when he was 8. I'd
oh
lost my
wow.
Baba, my dad's mom, to cancer. I'd lost my dad to cancer.
Oh my goodness.
Not long for that. And then my mom was in hospice with cancer
Yes.
when I was diagnosed. And that is why I didn't share it with her.
Right, right. And that's another reason that surprises me that you had to push so hard to get the test you wanted to get. I mean, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. What would you say to people who are going through a cancer battle or who have lost someone to cancer? Because um, did you go through treatment? Did you go through chemo or have to go through anything or?
So grace of God. When I really surrendered and just trusted him, I said, Lord, whatever it is, you'll guide me. They ended up doing tests on me that I didn't even qualify for. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, God's hand was over all of it. That they ended up testing the tumor to see what would the difference be with or without chemo. I
Yeah.
can't remember the percentage of difference. It was less than 5%. It wouldn't
Okay.
matter. So I didn't go through chemo. I didn't go through
Wow.
radiation. Grace of God. Like
Yeah.
to this day, I thank God every day for that. They did put me on a post cancer pill, which is a pill form chemo.
Right.
Uh, but it's totally different than going through
Oh,
the other
absolutely.
type of completely different, and I only did that for until I stopped that all completely in December 2015. I went all natural as of 2000
Doesn't,
January 2016.
wow, that is awesome. So, what do you say to people who are going through cancer right now or who have a loved one that is sick? Because I talked about this on my podcast at one time. You know, sometimes we pray for things and sometimes God does incredible things. And sometimes we pray and it doesn't, He may answer our prayer, but it's not the way we wanted. And then sometimes we pray and nothing changes. And it's hard to swallow that, even as a Christian, even as somebody who believes very much in prayer and knows how powerful it is. You know, I have a friend that passed away 2 years ago. And I mean, that we had thousands of people praying for her. And she kind of had the same attitude that you did. I found out at her funerals, one of her friends said, she went to her and she's like, what can I do for you? You know, while you're going through this treatment, while you're dealing with all this. And she said, just pray that I walk this well. And I
Mm.
thought, God, I would pray, get it out of me, you know, take it away from me. And she said, just pray that I walk this out well. And that was her heart. But she didn't. She wasn't healed. I mean, she passed away. And so what would you say to somebody that is in that position right now or has a loved one in that position?
So it's such a different journey for each one of us. I've been on both sides. I've watched family members I love, right,
Mhm.
battle cancer and lose the battle, and then I've been the one diagnosed and win the battle and be cancer free. One of the first things I did is I broke off any generational curse, any generational bloodline of cancer that may have come in because it talks about that in the Bible, about
Right.
generational sin, bloodlines, things that have come in. So I broke, as soon as I found the diagnosis, I broke it off. I cleansed the bloodline that it would not, none of our family would ever be affected again. It is done. It was over with me. Everybody else like will not touch.
Right.
So believing and declaring God's word over yourself. And what I did is his word. I had sticky notes everywhere. I declared his word out loud, not just reading it out loud. So I would say it, I would believe
Right.
it, and I would hear it, right? It would come back in through my ears. And that would continue to give me more and more faith as I was battling it.
Yeah.
But there's another part of, and this is something my husband and I teach in our ministry is in Corinthians, it talks about the 9 gifts of the Spirit. One of them is gift of healing, and one of them is a gift of miracles.
Hmm.
And gift of miracles is an instantaneous, right? Miracle happens of healing, something happens, right? There's a lot of uh, different stories in the Bible of what Jesus did. There's another one called the gift of healing,
Right.
right? And healing doesn't always happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. There's things going on in the background we don't know about, right? There's things that people's hearts are being worked on,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes the healing comes after they pass away. So there's
Yeah.
always going to be that healing. We just don't know, is it going to be here while we
Right.
see it, or is it going to be afterwards? Because there is healing, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know. And it's for us to be okay with Lord, like I want to do your will. And I love that she said, I want to fight this well.
Yes.
The way what changed me and how I changed and how I grew while I was battling cancer, I wouldn't change it. People would be
I
like,
can
would you take that
imagine.
away? I wouldn't change it.
Right.
Because I wouldn't be the person I am. I wouldn't be as
Yeah.
close to the Lord. I wouldn't be able to minister to people. I,
Hmm.
I don't want to be where I was then. And
Right.
it really made me focus. I loved the Lord then, but it's so much deeper now. And the power of the spoken word, the power of getting in his word. And um, so it is challenging because when we're on the outside looking in, we want it to be a certain way. Do it now, we
Right.
pray. And God hears all our prayers. When you pray, he hears, he sends the angelic, he sends, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be in his timing because there's things we
Right.
don't know going on and we just have to trust him.
Yeah. So you wrote your book after your cancer journey
Well, I was in the middle of it.
while you're
The
in the
first one
middle
is
of
when I
it.
was in the middle of it. So it's pretty raw.
Wow. Yes, I bet it is.
It came
I
out,
bet it
I think it was
is.
October 2016. So it's a real account and very raw because there's people that have read it and that or battled cancer and they're like, thank you for sharing some of the stuff you did. I thought it was just me.
Yeah, I need to get that book. I need to read that. I do. And then you talked about at the conference, the kind of insurance that you sell. Is it the same thing? Is this like long-term disability, short-term disability? Because you talked about what happens if you get sick but you don't pass away, you get sick and then you're not able to work or whatever.
Right.
Is that the same thing?
It's a little bit different. There's
Okay.
some protection that's just for long-term disability. What I
Uh-huh.
do is I help people with either life insurance needs. So if it's in case they get sick and live, it comes with living benefits. So
Uh-huh.
chronic, critical, terminal illness riders. So you could
Okay.
actually get a lump sum of money if you're diagnosed with something. But I
Okay.
do a lot of tax-free retirement accounts and I help people
Uh-huh.
really build up wealth for their
Okay.
future as well. But that also comes with living benefits. And
Yeah.
I got into that for the reason of Aaron and I, when we moved to the States, we got life insurance. And when I was diagnosed, people said, do you have living benefits?
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know what it was, but if I would have
Right.
had it, I could have taken a lump sum, 20,000, 100,000 and not had any medical bills. That would have changed
Wow.
everything. So there's a
Yes.
lot of power of having protection.
Yes. I remember you talking about that and I was going to ask, and then there were so many other things going on. I didn't, because we have that, or my husband has that long-term, short-term disability, but I wasn't sure if it was the same thing.
A little bit different.
A little bit different. Okay.
Yeah.
Question totally off the subject of your cancer journey. How do you like living in Texas compared to when you lived in Canada?
So I love your winters here because
Yes.
they're not,
What winter?
it's amazing because in Canada, I'm right from Lake Superior. We're a border
Uh-huh.
town to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So the cold comes right off the lake. So you're
Oh.
talking -40 with the wind chill,
Whew.
pretty cold.
Yeah.
So here, if people start putting on jackets, I'll still have on a t-shirt and
Right.
shorts and I'll
Shorts.
be like, this is amazing. I
Yes.
love your winters. Your summers are a little hot.
Yes,
but
they
I will
are
take
very
it.
hot,
If there's a
especially
place
down
else to
in
eat,
Katy. Especially down there. I grew up in Southeast Texas and we lived outside of Houston when my husband was in PT school. And I don't miss that humidity down there at all. I mean, it's bad enough up here. I curled my hair, you can't even tell. So
there's
I don't miss
humidity
it.
for sure. Very
Yes,
different.
it is. Yvonne, who sat at my table at the conference, who I'm talking to on Friday, talked about living in Arkansas and how they have all four seasons and it's beautiful. And I said, well, we have all four seasons. It's just sometimes in one day.
That's so true.
It is. In Texas, it's true.
Yeah, in the morning will be one temperature, then the afternoon, then evening. Yep.
Yeah, totally different. But I love it. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I can't imagine. So,
I do love it here. The people here remind me a lot of Canada. The people in Texas,
really?
I find are very kind.
Yeah.
They're nice, they're welcoming.
Yes.
And I love that. I love the people here are amazing. It's
Well, thank
amazing.
you so much for talking to me today. Thanks for chatting and sharing your story. And I'm going to put information about your book and your website on my channel.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Just an honor to be on and just to even share a little bit of my story, especially on this podcast. I pray that every ear that hears us, they'll be affected, that they'll be able to have hope, that no matter what storm they face, right? That then when they lean on their faith, there's hope. There's hope during it. There's hope on the other side. There's just submitting and surrendering to God. He'll give you all the strength you need to face any
Absolutely.
challenge.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I hope you have a great day.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.